Hey guys, welcome to my channel again, and this is gonna be the final recap of this series analysis of the FIDE World Championship matches in Singapore 2024. So as you know, it is a bit late right now, and I know that you guys have probably seen the recap of some of the channels. Like, I think I see the video of Hikaru and Magnus, also Levi, and Anish, Fabi, and all other strong players, right? But still, I was like, you know, I promised that I would try to cover all the most exciting games, and the last game definitely should be on the radar, right? So let's do as promised. So once again, guys, I just hope that you enjoy my series, enjoy my channel, and enjoy the match at the end. Sure? Let's go to the game. As you know, game 13 was a draw when they needed to defend pretty hard, right? He needed to defend pretty practically, resiliently, and somehow it was worse. I think, Wukesh definitely can try to win at some point, but then I think with really, strong play, especially considering that he is under times travel, that is a pretty, I think, impressive piece of defense building. So, we come to game 14 right now, and now Ding is white. The final white game for Ding, and also the final game of the classical match. Obviously, if it is a draw, so the match will be heading into the tiebreak, right? But I guess, as after the interview, after game 13, Ding just mentioned that he didn't believe it would be an early draw. So will he, keep his promise? Will the game can become decisive? Or who can become the world champion? Let's take a look at the match and the final game. In the game, nice figures play, d5, g3, the king's India attack. Seemingly a pretty slow play, and somehow it seems like white is willing to give away the center. But then this thing can always be tried at some point, and it can even transpose to like the Catalan. So it's c5 in the game, g2, d6 here, d4, e6, and castles. C4 in fact is also available too, but castles is like the best move order at this point. Here, so black can play various things. Knight f6 obviously is the main thing I believe. This is the main line, and c4, right? So the c4, queen a4, or the c5 both available. I mean, who knows what we're doing prepare, right? But in the game, Mukesh went for a rather option. cd4, knight d4, and knight g7. Here the main move is bishop c5, So the main line here I think is knight b3, bishop to b6, and c4, knight bd. Like this one I think is the main line here, I guess so. But I guess the main thing is that black will just play knight g7 at this point. Takes, stick with the knight here, and the game normally will steer towards like, pretty equal position at this point. So in the game, Mukesh opted for a new and I would say pretty fresh ideas, which I think is typical to his play in a match, right? c4, obviously fair, taking the center, can't be wrong. Knight d4, with d4, chase the queen, queen d1. This one I think for me is a bit arguable, In the game later on you will realize that Ding will play queen d2 later on. Also he will play b3 bishop b2. I think queen d2 makes more sense to me if you ask me, queen d2. And then I can place, like, say here for instance, right? It's like the way in the game you will realize that it can save white the tempo probably. Also queen f4 here looks also quite fun because here if d4 it's tricky to try right away, right? And bishop here, you can play queen d2, and now d4 is impossible. So queen f4 I think is also quite interesting. But here they play queen d1 in famous of shot. d4, e3 fair enough. Take a center, c5 here in the game. Takes, take the bishops. Knight d4 here is wrong because here you get b4 exclamation mark, which in fact is a very good tactics that threaten win material. Bishop b4, queen a4 is a loss instantly because we win a piece. And bishop here, bishop b2 when white gets more space here and get much better bishop pair, right? So in the game here, knight c3, castles, I think people may wonder like, okay, why did black not taking here to ruin the white pawn structures, right? But here, so the pawn structure is not that a big of a factor because right now the white bishop pair looks very strong, right? It can try to fight for own diagonals, and the double pawns here, in fact, that give white pretty strong to fast here to try and attack, right? So in the game, castles, fair enough. Knight b5, chase bishop away. Bishop b6. This one I think is a slight inaccuracy by Hukesh. Here e5 is better because right now not just it defend the bishop, but it also give room for bishop here to get away, right? Which I think is one main problem of black's positions. So here and here, the pawn here, although seems like a weakness, but it can be covered fairly easily. Say for instance, right? Bishop f5, I guess. Bishop b2, d3 can be tried, I guess so. Even here as well. When take here, we'll give black own source of counterplay, right? In the line squares. So in the game, this one was played by Wukesh. Here, so I think that after the game, then we'll redirect here, not play queen e2. Which for me is not that a hard move for his Calibert. Because right now, not just it steer away from the queen threat, but the one is also threatened, right? Harass the king on the queen on d8. So, it is move 14. You can see here that Ding now has spent 43 minutes on the clock, and Wukesh, I think 26 minutes. So the time difference is not that much, but white is still better, right? Due to better bishop pair right here. I mean, his bishop is looking pretty passive, and this kind of positional right is what Ding really loves to do, right? Especially in game 12, you can see how strong he can be in this type of situations. In the game, b3, which is a bit slow, sadly. I will show you like I think a sample line, queen d2 for instance, right? Let's say here a6, rook d1, queen d7 for instance, knight c3, and now so knight d4, queen d4 is nothing special. Bishop d7 here basically can make the bishop f4, and this one can be a threat, right? Somehow, so this bishop here struggles to find room to develop. e5 also is better as well, you know. So it's not easy at all to suggest anything for black. That is, I think, a sample line to tell you that white is having, I think, pretty firm edge, and it's hard to imagine Ding can lose for one. Even to be honest, I think Ding can win there actually. b3, natural moves, but sadly a bit slow. Another way, a6. Now this is here a last one, right? When this interference just I think solve on a black's problem. So in the game, knight c3, should d4, should b2, e5. As you can see here, the bishop now d4 looks pretty strong, right? And now the idea to go here now is gone. Moreover, bishop here also can get away. So black has, I think, fully able to solve his development problem at this point. Queen d2, bishop e6. Keep on developing, right? Knight d5, fair enough. b5. Although it seems like it weakened the knight on c6, but there is no good, I mean, discovery, right? So you don't need to be worried for that. Instead, black taking pawn here on c4 and trying to get some more space for his pieces. Here, so the best way to play is bishop d4, I guess. Take here and then f4 to try to cut it in the center. This one, like here, for instance, I think it may give white the biggest chance to go for the right, but I guess that with best play here, like let's say here for instance, it should still be around equal most likely. But in the game here, some thought, I think Ding went wrong. At this point, I think Ding made, for me, in my opinion, like the most arguable decision in the match. Here, he is still objectively fine, or slightly better, but he started looking for a way to equalize, trading things or go for a draw, which for me is wrong. Somehow, so there is no need to put yourself in pressure like that, right? Especially when you're doing fine. In the game, he started trading pieces, takes, which I think blew on his chances to go for an edge. Takes here, knight 4. It is his ideas here, go for the own threats. Here, takes. Okay, now on like massive simplifications to be it, d1, and here. f3, takes one receive, right? So it is hard to imagine that he can lose this, which is fair. But then, when you are somewhat better there, so it is a little bit disappointed to need to go forward this way, right? Also, it is, black, I think, who can push a little bit here after b4 in the game. Somehow now, so if white want to play a3, the pawn here is weakened, right? And the pawn here can be able to restrict both these two pawns. So black definitely can try and push for a while. So coming from a position that you need to defend, from a position you are better or in the driver's seat, is I think sort of an unfortunate choice. So in the game, a4 he play takes and rook g6. So the thing here, as you can see, is like this pawn is weak, right? I think Ding is already ready to give a pawn away in order to defend, I think, another 3 versus 2 endgame. But once again, this is certainly not that needed, right? Queen d4 in the game, queen b5, b4. Here rook b1 is playable, but now rook d8 can be tried and black can try to obtain the d file. Also, queen f5 can also be considered, right? Or like even h5 for 2 probably. It still feels certainly easier to play for black because white spaces, you can see here, are somewhat misplaced, right? Before in the game, takes. Okay. After move 30, now we got a position when white is now a pawn in the king side. It should be still objectively a draw, but I mean, it is certainly very annoying to defend this sort of situation, right? When you are somewhat worse and you have no chance to go for the win. Like for me, I don't let it at all. It is so boring to play a game when you can like draw at the maximum, right? What's the point? In the game, trades again, trades, g5. So now in the game, Ding I think defended well, so like for a while. Black in fact here can try to push for more, but it should be a draw with best play. Rook d1 here can be tried by Gukesh with the hope that Ding can play here and this one can be played, right? But obviously, Ding wouldn't have fun for the tricks. So the rook in the game here was play b4, h5, rook e4, rook e5 here. As you can see, so it should be still a draw here because it's hard for black to really push the pawn towards here to create a passer. Also, white always can keep checking the king, right? In the game here, now after move 44, things are still become pretty equal. Takes. Before in the game, f7, king f2, d2, king g1, king e3 now is also fine, but I guess that in the game, Ding might not want to separate the king from the pawn, right? King g1, a bit passive defense, but should be still fine. King f6, checks here, king g5, back here again, should be here in the game. Obviously, Ukesh is in no rush at all. He can still trying to maneuvering around a little bit, right? When Ding must sit and wait, basically. Rook e4, rook b2, rook e8, king f6 here in the game, rook f4, king e5. And now in the game, there comes the massive blunder. I think may even be like one of the worst blunder in the entire World Chess Championship history. And definitely one of the most serious blunder in the match for Ding. Rook f2, 2 question mark. Now, I mean, rook a4, rook f1, bishop g2, whatever, everything is fine. And for instance, let's say for instance here, right? When the win is still super far away. I'm not even so sure how here white can make progress. I mean, black, like, here for instance, f4 is hard to be done. I thought at some point must play, like, maybe trade here on the bishop, but even here, to trade here doesn't much otherwise well, right? Here, for instance, a4. This one is also very drawish, right? So it is still fine for him. So this trade here is very terrible. Ding plays one in only like I think 10 seconds of time, which sadly was not the right one. In the game, takes here, and now after this trade, which is forced, right? Why is no way to avoid that? Now we got to an endgame, the pawn endgame, when this is entirely lost. So king e3, king e5 was put in the game, and Ding resigned. King d3, f4, and now the passers here is unstoppable, right? Which you can see easily at this point. Also, king to e2 allow king e4, when the black king can get here eventually, and he can come close to the pawn, isn't it? And the pawn here will fall eventually. King e1, I guess the best way to play, but king e1 here, we added like king to e4, king e2, and king e2, right? In the pawn endgame, so there is a very important idea which is called the up position, isn't it? But sadly, it's black to do, it's black to play. This is black's turn. This is his turn to gain the distant opposition. And that's over. King d2, king d4, king e2, king e4, and now king f2, king e4, right? And king d1, f4 is also really lost. So here in the game, Ding resigned at this point, which gave Lukash the crown, and he officially became the youngest world champion ever, right? At the age of 18 years old. So it is, the last recap here, and it is also the end of the match. First, I also want to say congrats to Lukash first, who won a title. Obviously, we can somewhat agree that the quality of the match was not so high, right? But still, there are some very nice games to be seen, some very great matches, some good games, and some ups and downs, twists and turns that we should remember, right? Second, so congrats for India. I think after Vichy became world champ in 2008, finally they got another world champ, which obviously is very unexpected, right? Third, so thank you to the audiences, not just like the people watch my coverage, but also, the chess players around the world, especially people need to wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m. to watch the match, right? Which is, I think, incredible effort. And, I think we all make such, I think, a cool event together, isn't it? Fourth, so I know that my series will not be able to get plenty of audiences, but I will do what I promised to do, and hope you guys still appreciate the efforts. If you have any feedbacks or something you need to tell me in order for me to improve, just please do it, and obviously I'm pretty appreciative. So thank you for things there. We'll see you later, and hopefully we'll come back maybe in 2 years or some close time, who knows, right? And peace. Yes.